Well, in recent weeks, the president and others have raised questions about the security of mail-in voting. This is something that is already widely used here in San Diego, but amid the pandemic is likely to see a lot more use in other parts of the country. Joining us now to help clear the air and explain this process and the security around it is San Diego Registrar of Voters, Michael Vu. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So some of the questions that have been raised are things like, what if somebody were to steal a mail-in ballot from someone's mailbox, or fraudulently sign one of the ballots, or perhaps illegally print them or forge them in some way? What kind of safeguards are in place to guard against things like that?
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one is do we have clean registration rolls? And our office is constantly verifying and getting information from various government sources as to the status of voters that are out there. But the types of safeguards that we have when we send out mail ballots is, first of all, do we have clean lists? Now, there may be some lag times in terms of the overall cleaning of the registration rolls, but we work with the U.S. Postal Service to track all of the mail ballots, number one. Number two is when these mail ballots are coming back to our office, we signature verify every single one of them against the signature on the registration rolls. And so those are a couple of the respective safeguards that we have that are out there. And certainly the last thing is, if there's any fraudulent activity that's going on, certainly we would refer those matters to a couple of sources. Number one, the FBI, the District Attorney's Office, or the Secretary of State Fraud Investigation Unit for further investigation.
So these ballots are sent out to people who are already registered to vote. And can you talk about how many people, the percentage of San Diego voters who typically take advantage of mail-in balloting, because it's pretty high here, and it has been historically. And also, how does it break down versus Democrat versus Republican in terms of the numbers of people who use mail-in balloting?
So really, when it comes down to the overall mail balloting in San Diego County, is we already have a culture of individuals wanting to vote by mail. 75% of the 1.8 million registered voters that we have in our county are already permanently getting their ballots by mail. So we're really talking about the remaining 25%. And I think that's one of the confusing things that you're hearing from a national perspective, is that you have jurisdictions that are out there that in states that are out there that are not predominantly vote by mail, like it is in California, like it is in San Diego County. So from our perspective, we've had years of times to refine process, both outbound of getting individuals their mail ballots, as well as the inbound process when we receive their voted ballots, to process it through and verify it to ensure that the security is there, the accuracy is there, as well as the overall integrity of the election is there. May I ask you to repeat the second portion of your question?
Oh, I was just wondering how it breaks down Republican versus Democrat in terms of the numbers of people who use mail-in balloting right now.
Well, really what it comes down to when it comes down to the overall registered files is that 40% of our registered voters are Democrats, and then you've got about 28% that are Republicans, and then you've got about 27% that are consider themselves a nonpartisan voter overall.
So again, we have a lot of experience with this in San Diego. Is it valid that there might be concerns for areas where this is the first time they're doing this?
There are always, but I think for our county, it's spread throughout the entire county. So we're not so much concerned with it. But you have the other states. If the question is other parts of the country, yeah, I think more eastern states are locations and states that don't have as liberal in terms of the ability to vote by mail. Some of the southern states are as well.
All right, well, we'll see how it goes. But again, thank you so much for clearing some of that up. Michael Vu, Registrar of Voters.
Thanks for having me.